So chapter 1 of John Story's Cultural Theory and Popular Culture begins the process of exploring what is popular culture. It's, as Story says himself, a map of the general conceptual landscape of popular culture. So what John Story is doing is walking you through how academics have studied the concept of popular culture from its earliest stages to the present. You know, popular culture studies, or the study of popular culture, when it first entered into the academic realm, was considered childish, actually. It was, people were often made fun of, or academics were looked down upon because they studied popular culture. In much the same way, academics who studied children's studies or child and youth studies have gone through similar experiences. So it's taken some time to find its way into the mainstream of academia as an accepted area of study. That both study of popular culture over the last 30 years and now the study of children's studies or child and youth studies. But there's a deep overlapping connection between the two. On the first part, we have the notion that both are interested in culture and the role that popular culture texts play in identity formation, in ideological construction, in power relations, etc. And this is true for both popular culture study and the lives of children and children's studies itself, or contemporary children's culture. At the same time, popular culture is an essential component of contemporary children's culture. So to study contemporary children's culture requires a study of popular culture. But what Story tells us in this chapter, the first chapter, is it's difficult to map out popular culture because the definition of it is controversial or contested or hard to come at, in part because popular culture has always been defined as the other to something else, the implied other or the hidden other. So folk culture, mass culture, high culture, dominant culture, working class culture, he lists all these different things. And he says that, you know, pop culture is always sort of there, being bounced off against it. And because of that, whatever definition of popular culture you're using, whatever the implied other is in your understanding of it, affects your worldview of it. So it affects the way in which you see popular culture and either its importance or its lack of importance, as we see with some of these descriptions or definitions of popular culture that follow. So popular culture itself is a term that is entirely context-based. And that's so interesting because, of course, children's studies has so much to do in the same realm, and understanding contemporary children's culture is so heavily dependent on context, time and space, and is also very much so context dependent. So we have what follows then in the first paragraph of page 5. A really good discussion on what is culture and what is ideology, and how the two are very similar, except ideology, I guess, takes the notions of culture and adds a political spin to it, or introduces the political into the discussion of culture. And so understanding both culture and ideology as individual terms and their importance to understanding contemporary children's culture and the study of popular culture for John Story is going to be key for us throughout the rest of the course itself. As the chapter flows on, we get 6 definitions of popular culture. We get what is popular. We get popular culture as not high culture, as sort of the residue or what's left over. We get popular culture as mass culture, hopelessly commercial, heavily nostalgic. Again, this sounds a lot like some of the definitions of children's studies or contemporary children's culture and children's lives. Then we get it originates from the people, it's folk or folk culture. We get the discussion of popular culture in hegemony through consensus and struggle. And then we get the discussion of popular culture in the postmodern or postmodernism. But throughout the entire chapter, what's most important, of course, is the discussion that context matters. So from this, in our exploration of children's lives and children's studies, here's what we can take or pull out as our starting point. We want to know about what is contemporary children's culture. We want to study it. We recognize that to study it requires us to study institutional voices about children, institutional voices for children, and children's own voices. And they all intersect in and around and through popular culture, media, technology, etc. I'm going to post 2 videos from spring of 2017 that I gave in a course just like this, Humanities 4142, that went through what is contemporary children's culture and some of the background ideas behind it, sort of where is it situated, how is it formed, what role does media play in this, and I'm going to post those for you. I would recommend that you watch them. They'll be helpful for you to get some grounding or some background information on contemporary children's culture, which then, plus the story chapter, which gives us some background information about what is popular culture, should really allow us to move forward through chapters 2 and on, where John's story is then going to look at how do we explore popular culture through the lens of historical lens, like the history of how we study it, through Marxism, through psychoanalysis, through postmodernism, through feminism, etc., etc. And look at all these different theoretical viewpoints that allow us to explore popular culture and break it down. And then what we want to do as scholars of children's studies and contemporary children's culture is the same thing. We want to take all of these lenses that he's putting forward for us in this textbook, we want to apply them all to the lives of children in contemporary children's culture, and then we want to say, okay, how can we use this cultural studies approach to further understand contemporary children's culture? So your task for this week is to come up with 6 definitions. Story gives us 6 definitions of popular culture. If you were to have 6 definitions of contemporary children's culture, what would they be? Now, you don't have to give big elaborate paragraphs like Story does in the textbook for what each one of these is, but in a 2-minute YouTube video that you'll post for this weekend, tell me, what are the 6 things? What's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6? How would you say are 6 definitions for contemporary children's culture? And listen, there are no, I guess, right or wrongs, because they don't exist, because there's no such thing as 6 definitions of contemporary children's culture. Even defining contemporary children's culture is problematic, this term itself, this course itself. No one's really done it successfully. So what are your insights? Your children's studies majors and minors. You're in 4th year. This is your, the closing course, the capstone course of your degree. What do you know about children's lives? What do you know about children's culture and children's studies? And if you were to define it in just very short ways, what would your 6 definitions be, or the 6 ways that we can look at it, or that we have looked at it, or that people look at it in both positive and negative terms? Okay, I'm excited to see what you come up with. Thanks a lot.